Okay, we have some new folks with us this morning. So this wheel was in a closet in my house. And on the way home from service one Sunday, I got a download to take it out, invite the community to put questions on it so that we could actually address the questions that the community has, not just me talking about what I think is important, but so that I could speak to what's important to you. And so I have an overarching theme, and then within that I spin this every Sunday morning to see how it's all going to get contextualized. And so God only knows what I'm going to talk about. Let's find out together. How do we, quote, hear people when our brain is screaming, "Shut up!" All right. I love the way you guys do these questions. This is awesome. And it always, the odd thing is, it always fits. And that fits into today's frame. Let's take a breath together. Thank you, Clint. So our theme for the year is still first thing first. That is ministerial code for live in the moment. But we hear it better this way. If I tell you to live in the moment, you immediately start thinking about the past and the future, and now it's just toast. We are following the 12 steps and 12 traditions from a metaphysical perspective all year. We do the first 2 weeks of the steps, the second 2 weeks the tradition, and on the fourth week we have our brunch service and we do a workshop. So we are in the 8th month, and so it's the 8th tradition. And we touched on it a little bit last week, and we're going to look at it from a different lens this week. But the tradition actually states, whatever the group name is, NA, AA, CSL, right, should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. So we looked last week at how we relate to the word professional versus non-professional. The wheel delighted us with landing on WTF, which just made it all kinds of fun. This morning we're going to look at this idea of professional versus non-professional from the lens of transactional versus transformational. Because professional relationships tend to be transactional. Right? You go to the doctor, there's a transaction. Not much transformation typically. You go to the convenience store. If I go to Wawa, I'm not looking for transformation. I'm looking for a product at a price, quick service, in and out. That's why they call it convenience store. Right? It's a wholly transactional interaction. And I think one of the things that we miss in community is shifting out of transactional to transformational. Because the majority of our relationships here on planet Earth are transactional. Would you agree? Right? What does transformational actually even mean? A lot of us haven't even really explored that. One of the things about transactional relationships is that they're safe. Right? They're safe, they're short-term, they're predictable, they lack genuine emotional investment. They're based on a mutual understanding. Nobody has to stretch. Nobody has to be uncomfortable. The most discomfort that we're going to experience in a transactional relationship is the price. Right? And maybe when we get the product home, it doesn't do what we thought it was going to do. Right? But it's not stretching us. There's no vulnerability. Right? Transactional are safe. Transformational relationships is a deep connection that fosters mutual growth. Mutual growth. Right? If you're approaching a transformational relationship from a higher up, from a hierarchy perspective, where you're actually going to transform someone else, that is a transactional relationship. And you have an arrogance issue to look at. Transformational relationships are mutual growth. Mutual. Self-awareness, positive change for all individuals involved. All. Not just some. Not the ones who are the loudest. Not the ones that have the most money. Those are transactional. Right? If there's a hierarchy, it's a transaction. Check this. A transformational relationship is based on authenticity, vulnerability, trust, and a shared desire to become better. Shared. You can't have a transformational relationship unless all parties in the relationship want to be transformed. If both parties aren't in agreement about transformation, it's a hierarchy now, and somebody's trying to change somebody else, and that's transactional. And usually it's based in our idea of how the other person needs to change. And we haven't even bothered to check in with them to see if maybe they even want to change. Right? It's for our own agenda. That's transactional. So how do we get there? This brilliantly fits in. Right? How do we hear people when our brain is screaming, "Shut up"? Of all the classes that we have ever taken in school, unless you took professions, unless you studied a profession that is based in listening, right? Higher education, but K through 12, what class taught you how to listen? We teach each other how to read. We teach each other how to write. We teach each other how to do math. We teach each other how to speak a lot. Nobody teaches a class K through 12 in how to listen. So perhaps we start by learning to listen. And before I can listen to you, I learn to listen to me. Because one of the biggest barriers, one of the biggest reasons our brain is screaming, "Shut up," is because we desperately want someone to listen to us. We desperately want and need to be seen and heard. And when that, it's a different take on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But if I am feeling invisible, if I am feeling disregarded and unheard, I don't have space to listen to somebody else because I am overwhelmed by my own need to be seen and heard. And just like came up in our sharing about inclusion, you start listening to you. Because the lie that's operating is that in order for you to be valid, in order for you to be seen and heard, someone else is necessary in the mix. Which means you're operating from a lie that you only have value when someone else gives it to you. You're only seen when someone else sees you. You're only heard when someone else hears you. And what that lie does is continue to keep you disengaged from you. All right? I was talking to a dear friend yesterday and sharing about the book I'm in the process of writing, the title of which is Just Answer the Damn Question. Right? And it's based on that because what I have become aware of doing this thing of ministry is that the infinite gets our attention by asking us questions. Not each other questions, those internal questions. The infinite is constantly trying to get our attention so that it can help us become aware of what we already know. You know those places where you're like, what was I thinking? And then you go on without a beat, answer the question. What was I doing? What made me do that? What is going on with me? Answer the questions. But we don't. We hold on to them and then we look for somebody who will ask us the question so we can tell them. We act out in a way that gets people's attention so that they will go, what are you doing? So we can answer the question. And then we have a whole convoluted story that typically blames something or someone outside of ourselves for what we're doing. And the only thing that has happened in that process is we've gone deeper into self-invisibility. We've gone deeper into the pain of I'm unseen, I'm unrecognized, I'm unvaluable. And we're having a negative. See, most of us hear transformation as a positive thing, yes? It's not always positive. Transformation simply means this: to make the previous version of a thing unrecognizable. That's all it means. Right? I know a lot of people that had extraordinarily high-paying, high-prestige jobs, had health and wealth and power. In 2 years on heroin, they had nothing. They were transformed. They were absolutely unrecognizable. Wasn't positive. Right? So, are you transforming to where you want to be? Or are we transforming into something that we don't want to be? Because when we hold on to the lies, they will transform us. Right? Holding on to the lie that your value is established in somebody outside of you will transform you into an unrecognizable pile of self-pity. Is that the transformation you're looking for? Maybe it is. I don't know. But I know it doesn't have to be that way. I know when we learn to listen to our own inner dialogue, when we learn to make friends with our own critic, then yes, that place that Michelle talked about where other people's opinions of me are none of my business becomes real. It becomes real. And thank goodness, because there's 7 billion people on the planet. How am I going to navigate everybody's opinion? I'm not. Right? Now, chances are I'm never going to meet most of those. But I don't even want to navigate 7 opinions about me, much less 7 million. And here's the thing. Here's the cold, hard truth. Do you know why you worry about other people's opinions of you? Anybody? Because of the opinions you hold about other people. You worry about people talking smack about you because you talk smack about other people. You worry about being judged because you judge. Hello. So maybe we can just relax into, let me just check me. Let me just check me. Because I promise you this. When you know who you are, when you know the spiritual truth of your being, nothing, I think, has any power over you. Nothing. Nothing. When you are absolutely anchored in the truth of your being, when you really get, not know about, but when you really know, when you embody that you are a divine idea in the mind of God, that you are a smile in the heart of creation, that you are so intentional, you are an emanation, a physical representation, a body in which the infinite lives, moves, and has its being because it wants to experience itself as you. How much more important could you possibly be? How in the world could any human's opinion be better than that? But it challenges us because in order to really embody that, we have to unravel everything we've ever been taught about who we are as a human being. We have to unravel the reward-punishment paradigm. We have to let go of getting other people's attention to know we're okay. In the silence, there is peace. In the silence. Because every word I speak is a limitation. Language is a limitation. There is no way for me to accurately articulate the magnificence of what I experience in deep meditation, in silence. That place where we touch the infinite. That place where it's uninterrupted time with the essence of life. And the minute we open our mouths, now it's less than. And I offer you that so that you can stop trying to say everything right. Because you can't, so just let it go. Right? And to stop waiting for someone else to articulate your magnificence. What's important is that you know it. It doesn't even matter if you say it out loud. It matters that you know it. Right? And then you too can be one of those human beings that just walks around the planet with this grin that confuses everybody. Right? Like, oh, what's up with that dude? Right? Be that. Be so insanely thrilled with life, not people's behavior. Good Lord. I'm not even thrilled with my own behavior. Right? But to be thrilled with life. That you just walk around oozing, I'm thrilled with life. And people will ask. I mean, I go to the same branch of PNC every week. And they're like, are you ever, unhappy? I'm like, sure I am. Well, we never see it. I'm like, would you like to? And they're like, well, no. And I said, why are you bringing it up? But see, that's the craziness of the human mentality. If we experience somebody is always happy, something really must be wrong. They must be absolutely bonkers. If somebody is that happy all the time, probably need to look at a 5150 for them. That's the stuff we do. If you don't know what 5150 is, it's the police code for a psych hold. Because you're not allowed to be that happy all the time. Maybe transformational relationships change the rules. What if we did that? What if you entered every interaction you have in a mentality and attitude of transformation? Not that you're going to transform the person you're interacting with, but that you will be transformed by every interaction you have. I don't care if it's an interaction with your vehicle. Something can be transformed. Something. If we're open to it. How do we listen to other people? Learn to listen to yourself. And the simplest, stop screaming, shut up. Because this is predicated on how do we learn to listen when our brain is screaming, shut up. Stop screaming, shut up. And do the work to understand that that's coming from something inside of you that is having a judgment about what they're saying. You will rarely hear me use the term like-minded because I find it to be metaphysical code for people who think like me. Talk to somebody who thinks differently than you. Practice doing this. Dare to drop the bomb about, what do you think about something you know is going to be controversial to what you think? Not necessarily controversial in an antagonistic way, but that will elicit something that challenges your own thinking. Ask the question and then shut up and listen. You don't have to do anything with what you hear. And I'll wrap up with that. Right? Just because you listen doesn't mean you have to do anything with what you heard. But for sure, if you don't listen, you can't ever respond. You can react, but you can't respond. We have a saying in our household, if you don't ask, it's always no. If you don't listen, it's always transactional. And neither is good or bad. You get to decide. Do you want transactional relationships? Or do you want transformational relationships? You get to pick. Now, the study sheet for this week is going to walk you through your idea. What does transactional mean to you? What does transformational mean to you? And then it's going to take you into taking a look at our spiritual community. In what ways are we a transactional community? In what ways are we a transformational community? And then, yes, I annoyingly take you to you so that you can look at your personal community engagement. Is it transactional or transformational? There is no right or wrong answer to any of this stuff. It's just an exploration so that you can listen to you. Let's take this into prayer. What a delight it is to recognize one power everywhere present, expressing itself expanding its experience of itself as individualized expressions of itself. It is omnipresence. It is omnipotence. It is omniscience. It is diversity. Beyond being diverse, it is diversity. It is every expression, one source expressing in multiplicity, by intention, by design. I am that in form. And what is true of me is true of all form. In this planet Earth experience, from the tiniest grain of dust to the most magnificent mountain, to the cosmos, to the wind, to the birds, to the bees, to everything, all equally this one substance expressing itself, this nameless, changeless substance that is simultaneously no thing and everything. And so I claim and affirm, I open myself to a greater experience of the divine expressing differently. I open to an interaction that transforms me into a more clear, a more awake, a more aware version, a more present version, a more clear presentation of the infinite as me. That clarity that heals simply by being in our presence. True transformation. So that the previous version of me is unrecognizable in the most magnificent ways. And what I speak for me, I speak for all of life. In our own path, in our own ways, on our own timing, to transform into the greatest version of the infinite we choose to be. And I celebrate. I celebrate that in the law of creation, it's already done. That the word spoken is the word fulfilled instantly. And it is faith of believing in what I cannot see that I step into as I release all of the noise in my brain that wants to argue with it. As I release all of the doubt, as I release any confusion, as I release anything that would neutralize the full magnificent fulfillment of this word spoken, I let it go. I let it go. Ashe. Shalom. Aho. Amen. Amen. And so it is.